Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
You must not drill into my building. That is what I hear very often when we have a site visit and the building owner or the architect tell us, don't touch my nice building. It is like, wash me but do not get me wet. So of course we have to touch the building. However, we do it with a lot of care. So my dear architects, I always say that don't worry about it, even when you have a beautiful cladding. Yes, we have to touch it, and I want to explain how we're doing. Drilling into a building wall is required because flood barriers for buildings need to be attached to the building structure. And I want to explain today what an architect or engineer has to design so that hassle-free drilling is possible where it is needed. And where are the problems, the challenges, which is a solution for buildings, for homeowners, business managers, public servants. So that is what this episode is about. And first, you have not to be afraid. I said it already. It is, of course, much advisable, it is much better, let's say it this way, to design the building from the scratch already in a way that later we have not to make too many changes anymore. So it starts with a wall. So we talk about the wall first, and then we talk about the floor. So the wall first, because I mentioned it, we need to attach side channels. What is it? A side channel is a kind of U profile or C profile. It's made by steel and hot dip galvanized or even stainless, but hot dip galvanized most of the cases is okay. And these side channels are attached to the wall, so that can be attached in different ways. You can attach it at the front side, then we call it is surface mounted. You can attach it at the inner side, then it is at the negative side, because the water pressure from outside will press everything to the inner side. So that's why we say it's at the negative side. And you can install them recess mounted, that is in between the door frame or the entrance frame. There's another possibility to modify them, but that is not the topic now. So, and these side channels remain with the building. So you don't dismantle them. That would not work, because it's also possible, by the way, before somebody is writing, hey, but last time you mentioned that we can provide dismantleable, detachable side channels. Yes, it is possible, but it's not the standard. And then we need dowels and bolts. So there's a drilling, of course. Oh yeah, drilling! No, we don't want drilling. Please don't drill. I hear already the voice of the architect. Yeah, we need, my dear friends, we need. And the beautiful facade, we have to touch, we have to cut it out, and then we have to go back to the concrete, to the real structure of the building. Very often people tell us we can attach the side channel to the facade, but what will happen if you have ever investigated what a facade is, cladding, that is a kind of tile or structure, wall element on top of the existing building, and there's always a distance, and sometimes the distance is 20 centimeters. I don't know about the standard, perhaps there is a standard, but anyway, there is a distance, and what will the water do? It will find the way behind, of course, and then the building gets flooded. So it's an absolute no-go to attach flood barrier side channels on a cladding. No-go, no way. If ever a customer insists, I don't do the job. I don't do the job because, to be honest, that doesn't work. And so that means we have to cut out this cladding, these tiles, and attach the side channel at the concrete structure. Then what next? Because it doesn't look really good, and you're right, it doesn't really look really good. The side channels can be covered normally with cover plates to avoid direct impact of sunlight or vandalism. But now they are already integrated into your facade in case you have a cladding. And you can add a kind of side channel door that will cover the hole, that will cover the whole element. It doesn't only cover the side channel itself; it covers also a little bit at the left and at the right. And this kind of door, this kind of plate can be powder coated, and it looks like your facade. So I hope that the architects are now satisfied with it, because it looks very, very beautiful. You even don't think that there's a flood protection behind. We did that several times already, and always very beautiful. So, but what if you don't have a facade? You only have your pure concrete. Then, and you don't want to have it surface mounted, you don't want, perhaps there's a downsport electric cables and that is not possible. You want to install it recess mounted, so in between the frame, the door frame. But you say, it's not good. Perhaps somebody can hurt himself, herself, or you have a gate for a warehouse, for a factory, and you are afraid that perhaps a car driver, a vehicle driver, a forklift driver might bump it and damage the side channels. Then there's one possibility: you embed the side channels into the building structure. But you must consider that already in your planning. That means the thickness of the wall at this area, at the left and at the right side, must be big enough. If not, you cannot integrate the side channel into the wall. So these things are possible, and there are so many solutions, and the architects and engineers have not to be afraid anymore. But please, if you have a question, talk to us first before you do your design, and then it's very easy at the end of the day. So that was a wall. A very short break.
Flood protection secrets. Stay tuned. It's about to continue.
Yeah, so that gives me the chance to drink something, and that's a new one. I hope you like it. It's a little bit more aggressive. I know the music. But now we talk about the floor. I described it already several times, that for demountable flood barriers, what is the 90% case? What I said before with the wall is of course also true for doors and automatic systems, but they are more sophisticated. Let's talk about these demountable flood barriers, simple flood barriers. So you normally have a part of side channels. It comes with a back brace to stabilize long spans. If people say, hey, we want to have a very long span, I always call it the Buster Keaton span. You know, these Hollywood movies from the 1920s without sound, without audio. And then the people were walking around with these long wooden planks, and there were always accidents and funny things, and people were falling and people were laughing. And so that is why I call it the Buster Keaton. He was a popular Hollywood star at this time. And that is a back brace or a middle support when you cut these long spans into shorter parts. They are more handy, and so you need a middle support, and you have to then a corner support in case you have a corner, whether it is a 90 degrees corner, a 60 degrees corner, 70 degrees, whatever, corner support, or compression bars to stabilize the flood barriers. And at the end, you don't want any bending, and when it comes to longer spans, you don't want that barriers are not compressed with each other, that the upper one is moving a little bit upwards. So that is why you use compression bars, for instance. And more flexibility, stability, of course. And all these vertical elements require connection with the ground, with the floor. And then what can you do? We can use threaded sleeves. We can use anchor plates, or we use ground beams with embedded anchor plates. So, and they all require that you, or let's say it this way: for the threaded sleeves, you take the existing foundation and you just drill inside. So sometimes 200, 300 millimeters of thickness is necessary. If the thickness is not that thick and you only have 100 millimeters and below there is sand, then you have no other choice than to pour cement. So you must you must construct a new foundation. And that is, if you already have to do so, then you can already use an anchor plate. That is much easier to install, and later you have not to do this drilling, because for the drilling, normally you need the core drilling machine. You can do it without, yes, we also did. But it is much better to use a core drilling machine, because for M16, M20, M24, drill holes, and that is more accurate, because you need, for one middle support, you need 4 drill holes. What if one drill hole is not aligned? You cannot attach the screws and put in the screws, the bolts in a correct way. So that is always the risk, and you rely on the skills of the person who is drilling. And when we are abroad, of course, we don't do the installation, we supervise the installation for labor law reasons, etc. So that is what the companies are doing. So that means you rely on the skills of your local workers. And that is very dangerous, because you don't know what these guys are doing. And at the end, they only have one shot. If they make a mistake, then they need an additional threaded sleeve. But you only get 4. If you want to have an additional one, it's very expensive. That is made by stainless steel, and so on and so forth. You see, the story is endless. So better go immediately for anchor plates. And then if you have a longer ground, recently I made a podcast for a German car shop, and that was a protection of a ramp, 5.50 meters, opening width 600 high, and I suggested to use a ground beam. Why a ground beam? Because you can embed already the anchor plate and the anchor plate and the 2 small anchors for the compression bars, and that are needed in this case, and then it's easy to install. You just deliver one ground beam with the embedded anchor plates, and the civil workers from a contractor, they can install it. They only have to level it, that's all. And then it is easy to install the barriers at the end, and for us it is easy to install the side channels. But you should take the decision, or it is better, it's up to you to decide, for this ground beam. Sometimes purchasing officers are always haggling the price down, and then they always do, it's their job. But then they say, oh no, we don't want. But they don't understand the risk they undergo. They don't understand that sometimes the installation takes longer, and that in the meantime, with all the delays, what if the next rain is coming? Then you get flooded. So a lot of problems. So the solution is if you have a floor that needs repairing, then you can repair it, renew it, or renew it and do it from the scratch again. And my suggestion is always use ground beams if you can with anchor plates. And at the end, you have to drill into the building, my dear architects and engineers. But I hope I could show you, I'm sure that I showed you a solution that you have not to be afraid about it anymore. There is no other way, but that is a brilliant way. And imagine if you cover the side channels with a powder-coated cover door for these side channel elements, how beautiful that is looking. And that is, by the way, also something what every homeowner can consider for his beautiful house. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood-free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.